Are you looking to grow revenues, increase profitability, or obtain financing? If so, you came to the right place.
Running a business is all about leadership. How do you become a better leader? Learn from the successful entrepreneurs and business owners how to lead your organization more effectively. That's why we created Leadership Live at 805, Talking Small Business, to help you succeed with your host, Andrew Frazier, Business Growth Pro and CFO and founder of the Small Business Pro University. Every Tuesday evening at 8 p.m. Eastern, we're joined by experienced entrepreneurs and business owners who share their secrets to success via live stream. Also, every Friday morning, we release a new podcast episode. Either way, you will learn about developing your business leadership skills from our roster of highly performing guest experts. Leadership Live is one of the many valuable resources provided through the Small Business Pro University, empowering business owners to learn, profit, and grow. Find out more at sbpro.u.com.
Good evening and welcome back to Leadership Live at 805. I'm your host, Andrew Frazier, and excited to be back here once again with you on Tuesday evening. Each week we have a great guest and a great topic, and I'm really looking forward to tonight's show. We're going to be talking about the biggest marketing risk is not taking enough risk. And, business, there's risk in business, but you don't want to take too much risk. But sometimes by not taking risk, it causes a risk to your business. So I think we're going to have a good conversation tonight. As you know, as I always say, your most important job is, as a business owner, is sales and marketing. So that's why we dedicate a lot of our shows towards helping you learn about and developing your sales and marketing skills. Because, if you get that right, you've got 90% of what you need to get right in business. So, with that said, I'm going to invite my guest today, Jeremy LaDuke. Hey, Jeremy, how you doing tonight?
Good. How are you, Andrew?
I'm excellent. Thanks for joining me.
Good to be here.
Okay, great. So we're going to chat, about marketing risk and lack of marketing risk. But before we do that, if you could take a few minutes, talk a little bit about your journey, let people know a little bit who you are, how you got to where you are and where you are and what you're doing.
Yeah. So I started Epic 9 Marketing Outfitters way back in 2014. So we're going on 11 years now. And when I started, it was just kind of a solo gig, right? It was just me, but I started with the idea of growing a team of folks that could help other businesses thrive with great marketing. And so we've evolved over the last 11 years. We started off working with kind of local, smaller businesses, but as we grew, the need for our sustainability grew. And so we started taking on larger clients. And so now we work with businesses that are usually in that $5 to $50 million a year range. But our heart and our roots always been with the local folks that are just they're in that daily hustle and grind, trying to get their business off the ground. And so in the last year, did a couple of things, wrote a book called Climb to help small businesses DIY their own marketing effectively, and also launched Climb Club, which is a online community for small businesses that are in that under $1 million a year in revenue mark, help them really get their hands around their own marketing and help them get to that point where it makes sense to hire someone else out.
Excellent. So, okay. So, you've been in business 12 years. You talked about, you sort of pivoted markets. And, that's something that, a lot of business owners end up needing to do. And sometimes they need to do, but they don't do it. How did you know that you should do it? And how did you do it?
So it was a slow path, right? It didn't happen overnight. I think for us, it really there was a lot of things that happened. The economy evolved. Marketing technology was a big factor. What we did became a lot more common, right? I always joke and say you can throw a rock and hit a marketer pretty much wherever you are in the world. Whether you're at the store or at a coffee shop, there's probably someone that either does social media or web design or graphic design. And so what we needed to be able to charge made a lot less sense to the smaller local businesses, especially as more tools became accessible to them. And so we shifted gradually to working with larger clients that didn't want to necessarily take on the hassle of doing their own marketing in house, but also needed a team that they could rely on that could produce great ideas, turn those ideas into great creative assets, and manage things like social media and ad spend and all of those types of things. And so that took, I would say, we kind of started that transition around 2019, and we've kind of slowly grown over the last couple of years to where we are now, and we still have smaller local business clients and that we love and we work with, but we've now moved into an area where we are getting to kind of spread our wings a little bit and take creative ideas and turn them into great campaigns that a lot of your listeners, you might be able to see every once in a while.
Okay, excellent. So yeah, the technology is evolving real quickly, and especially on the marketing side. And and also it's great that, especially for small business owner, there's more and more things that you can do yourself, or that you can do at a lower cost than you ever could have done before. So that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, and it's a blessing and a curse, right? Like you have access to all these things, but they're always changing. It's even for us, it's hard to keep up with sometimes. I mean, it's like every day there's something new, especially now with AI. That's sped things up to, like, things are progressing at a breakneck speed. And so for the average local business owner, most don't have time or energy to try to keep up with this stuff. It's enough work to just keep the doors open and do the craft or produce the thing that you love to do and you're trying to make a business at. You didn't necessarily, when you first started that business, you probably didn't get into it thinking, oh, I need to make TikTok videos. You just want to do your business good, and so that's where we come in, and we try to provide the tools to help local businesses navigate that world a little easier. We kind of always talk, both in Epic 9 and Climb Club, we always talk in terms of climbing mountains, right? You're trying to climb your marketing mountains. And so think of the top of that mountain as the goal that you're trying to reach. It's a business goal, right? So grow your customer base or get to a certain revenue point. That's your goal. And your marketing is the thing that helps get you there. And so we talk about getting the right path up the mountain. That's important. And having the best tools to get up the mountain as well. And so when you combine both of those things, the right path and the right strategy with the right tactics, it makes your job of getting to your goals a lot easier and a lot less complicated. And then I think that's where a lot of small business owners are at. They're kind of at the base of that mountain, looking up at it, thinking like, how do we get up there with marketing? And the path isn't clear, right? There's not a clear path. And so they sometimes they go down this road. They might get, scammed by someone, offering SEO services, or, Google, quote unquote, calls them on the phone saying, hey, we're a representative from Google. We want to run your ads for you. And they wind up spending, $1,000. That there's a lot of pitfalls up that mountain. And so we try to make it, that path as clear and hurdle free as possible.
Okay, excellent. So yeah, no, definitely that's extremely valuable. Before we get started and go too far, we do the live stream through Small Business Pro University. It's one of our brain trust initiatives. And it's good to know what Small Business Pro University is, because we are doing a lot of great things for entrepreneurs and video business owners. So I'm going to play a short video, and then we'll be back talking small business with Jeremy LaDuke. Many small businesses experience low or no revenue growth, and the owners are not making enough money. I founded Small Business Pro University to help you break that cycle by empowering you with greater knowledge and enhanced skills to lead your organization more effectively. Over the past 15 years, I have collaborated with organizations like the Small Business Development Center, Rising Tide Capital, Empower the Village, NJMEP, Rutgers University, and SCORE to work one-on-one with over 1,000 business owners and teach tens of thousands of people about business. My experience includes serving as a naval officer, managing businesses, graduating from MIT, earning an MBA from NYU, and achieving the CFA designation, which has prepared me to accomplish my mission of helping 1,000,008 business owners to sell more, maximize profit, and finance growth by 2028. My vision is to create the ultimate business ecosystem for entrepreneurs. Small Business Pro University empowers entrepreneurs like you to run their businesses more professionally and create sustainable enterprises. We employ my proven proprietary Masterpreneur Playbook framework to guide your journey along the Masterpreneur path and facilitate your Masterpreneur evolution to work on your business and scale faster and easier. Small Business Pro University provides access to valuable resources, partnerships, and relationships that will help you to sell more, maximize profit, and finance growth. Our Masterpreneur initiatives include the Small Business Pro Network, 100+ expert-led multimedia courses, intensive training workshops, Spanish language training, Leadership Live at 8:05 live stream and podcast, in-person Power Breakfast events, and advisory coaching, consulting, and training services. All right, good evening. Welcome back. I'm here with Jeremy LaDuke, talking small business. Jeremy, our topic is the biggest marketing risk is not taking enough risk. So what does that mean? Why do you say that? And what should we know about that?
So I think the easiest way to come at this is talk about how we see a lot of businesses when they're starting up, how they do it. I won't say wrong, but I will say inefficiently, right? So a lot of businesses, when they start, marketing is not necessarily your thing as an entrepreneur, right? You're not coming at it from a branding expert perspective. You're coming at it as an expert in whatever you do, whether that's HVAC or plumbing or you're a tax professional. You are great at what you do. Right. And so you look around and you look at other places that seem to be successful and you say, well, if I look and if I sound like them, I can't go wrong. Right. I'll be safe if I kind of blend in on that level with my name, my logo, and that sort of stuff. And so that's kind of why you see a lot of for lack of better words, kind of boring business names, right? So we live in the Smoky Mountain areas. I'm right at the base of the Smoky Mountains over here and outside of Knoxville. And we have a lot of businesses. You could probably go through like 10 phone book pages worth of businesses that are start with either Smoky Mountains or foothills. Now, sometimes that works, right? I'm not going to say it's bad all the time. Sometimes that works, but when everybody has a business that starts with Smoky Mountains, it just kind of blends in. When your logo has the same mountains that everybody else has in their logo, it just starts to blend in. And so while this may feel safe, what it does is it means you are losing opportunities to get in front of and stand out from your competition, right? So if you look like everybody else, you are losing an opportunity to build a relationship with potential customers, and to have them see you and recognize you as someone that they can go to solve their problem. And so we talk a lot about the difference between differentiation and distinction. And so I'm going to take a second and just talk about what the difference is between those two things. So if you've probably ever taken a marketing class in college, you've probably heard that differentiation is the key to great marketing, right? You got to make yourself look different. You got to make your product, the points of your product different than your competitors, right? You're better because of X, Y, Z, right? That's what you need to promote. And what they found, and when I say they, I'm referring to some studies that have been done by a lot of people, in particular, the Ehrenberg Bass Institute out of Australia. A lot of large and small corporations have paid them a lot of money to figure out what actually works in marketing. And so what they found is that differentiation doesn't matter as much as distinction, right? And when we think about this, distinction is the thing that makes you stand out. It's either your messaging, your branding, the way you talk about your business, a great ad campaign, something that makes you different, not in terms of better or worse than, but different in terms of visual and messaging and your marketing. Distinction matters more than differentiation. And that's because when you're distinct, people are able to start building memory structures around your brand, right? If you're blending in with everybody else, it's harder for us to naturally and instinctively build memory structures around that brand. But if you stand out, you start to earn people's a spot in people's memory a lot easier. So what they found is brands that are distinct grow faster, grow more efficiently than brands that look the same as everything else. So when you're thinking about starting a business, if you're thinking about rebranding, right? If you've been in business for a few years and you think, man, I think my brand could just use a refresh, I encourage you, do not play it safe. Take a little bit of risk, because I assure you, the safe version is not actually safe. You're risking being forgettable, right? And if you remember anything from this whole talk, remember this, that if you play it safe, you risk being forgettable. And the job of your marketing, the job of your branding is to be memorable. So don't risk being forgettable. That's the biggest risk of playing it safe.
All right. Great way to put it. Definitely, I don't know if you're familiar with the movie, The Incredibles, with the kids, but the villain.
It's been a while, but my youngest is about to be an adult in about a year and a half. So it's been a while since I watched it, but I'm familiar. I remember it.
Okay. Yeah. So, where the villain, he was a villain because, he wanted to be super, and the supers didn't recognize him. So he created the thing, tool to make everybody super. And he was like, well, if everybody's super, nobody's super. So basically, if everybody's the same, then nobody stands out. And that's what you're talking about.
Yeah, well, and here's the great opportunity that's in all of this, is that the bar is not very high, right? Most businesses, especially on the local level, are kind of boring. And so you don't have to jump over a really high bar to be more memorable than the next. And at the end of the day, that's all you have to be. You just have to be more memorable than your competition. Now, the danger there is that someone's going to see what you're doing and they're going to catch on, and they'll be like, "Oh, I can one up that person." So, don't settle for good enough on that. Go all out and get ahead of the competition while you can. But in general, for small local businesses, that bar is set pretty low. So just get creative and think, how can I make my business, my brand, distinct and stand out? The way that we see this playing out with our clients and with others that are doing it really well, you use emotion, right? So in your creative campaigns, if you're running any sort of ad, whether it's a billboard, and if you're running a billboard, maybe we can talk about this in a little bit. I don't want to get too deep into it, but if you're running a billboard, that's a pretty sizable chunk of money out of your budget every month. So you want to make sure that it is effective, right? If you have a boring billboard, you're just throwing money away. The same goes for display ads, or an ad in the newspaper, or an ad even on the radio. If it's boring and it's forgettable, you're throwing that money away. So now your mom might hear it and she might think it's the best ad ever, but if your customers aren't remembering it, then again, you're losing those opportunities. But the way we make connections with people is not a bullet pointed list of here's why my service is better than the next guy's, right? People don't fall in love with, they don't get convinced with bullet points. That hook that you've got to get them with is some sort of emotion, right? It's funny, it's sad, it's bold, something that's going to grab them on an emotional kind of gut instinct level. That's what you have to put out there to stand out. I think of one example in our hometown it's an HVAC company, and they did not go with the typical sort of logo that you normally see. Like I bet. Okay, I'll just play in a little experiment. If I were to say name two elements that are usually in an HVAC logo, what would they be?
Probably like a wrench, and not HVAC. Maybe AC, I guess an AC machine or heat.
Yeah, like something like a flame or maybe a snowflake. It's usually hot and cold, right? Yellow, red and blue. That's the colors. So they didn't go way far out of that concept, but they chose a mascot, and they chose a Yeti, an abominable snowman, right? And so now whenever you drive around, you see that Yeti, oh, that's that company, right? That's that brand, and it stands out, which is a whole other thing. If you can get a mascot with your brand, and it's not hard, just pick an animal and run with it. But there's a saying in the advertising world that fur sells. People are naturally drawn to animals. They're able to put a face essentially with your brand. One company that's doing that phenomenally well right now is Duolingo. I'm sure you've probably seen some buzz about them, but they're everywhere with their owl, the little green owl. I think it just it did something with Dua Lipa, because it's the names are very familiar or very similar, and it's been making headlines in the marketing world for a little while. But it's also like it's social media. The Duolingo social media is kind of it's going nuts. It's got millions and millions of followers and getting tons of engagement because they've taken this owl. And again, the owl has nothing to do with language, right? Duolingo is an app that helps people learn a new language. The owl has nothing to do with that language, but it has everything to do with making them distinct and memorable. And so their competition, Rosetta Stone, you don't ever even hear about them anymore, right? It's all Duolingo. And it's not necessarily because they have a better product. They might, I don't know, but it's because they've been distinct and they've gotten in front of people in a dynamic way.
No, definitely. And you look back at insurance companies, which are like super boring, but everybody, anytime you see a duck, you think of Aflac, and
the gecko is Geico.
Gecko,
I'd say one of my favorite mascots of all time is the lemur emu.
Yeah.
Like I love that bird.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, I guess fur sells.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and you think of and I use insurance companies as an example a lot, but because they are a boring product, right? Nobody wakes up in the morning thinking, oh man, I really want to change insurance companies, right? Like you would rather like pull your fingernails out than have to change insurance companies. And they know that, they understand that. And I think it was either Progressive or Geico that really started doing the humor side of things pretty hard. But once they started doing it, they raised the bar, and they've been in hard competition because they understand that the fact that people don't want to do this every day means you get a very small window to get new customers, right? There are certain points in people's lives, maybe when they're getting married or when they're moving out or they're getting divorced or, whatever it is, there's very small windows where they're going to change insurance companies, and you want to be top of mind. And they understand they're not going to be top of mind by, showing you bullet pointed lists of why they're better every time. It's like their commercials have typically zero to do with the benefits of insurance, right? They have nothing to do with insurance. It's all about memory. It's building that memory. And they must be doing pretty good because they buy a lot of ads.
Yes, definitely. So, no, that makes a lot of sense. So, a lot of people come to business from, working in corporation or a lot of companies, and, most companies, the goal is to blend in and be similar. And, sometimes that mold, you actually, you tend to be more conservative. So, when you leave and you go into business, you have a conservative bent. I run into that. I probably had that. How do you help people to really move from that and really just understand, why they need to be more creative and take more risk?
So a lot of it's education. If I could recommend one book for sure is How Brands Grow. It's a lot of data, but if you like data at all and you want some justification for doing something distinct, that's the best place to start. It's a great book. But it's partly education and partly just helping people understand that, seeing the risks of blending in, especially with your marketing and in business. The fact that when you are blending in, you're not making memories, and you're losing opportunities is key. I think the hard part is figuring out, how do you take risks and what sort of risks do you need to take, right? You don't want to just take risks for risk's sake, but what are some calculated risks that you can take, and that aren't, betting the farm, right? What are some things that you can do to help yourself stand out and not blend in? And it takes more time for different folks, right? Some people are just naturally, I think, a little more conservative on that side. So we're dealing with a client right now that needs to be out there on LinkedIn, but they don't see all of their other industry competitors or associates really posting a lot on LinkedIn, and we're trying to help them understand, like that's the opportunity, right? If everybody else is going this way and you go this way, you're going to stand out. And that's scary, right? It's scary. It was scary when we were kids and teenagers in school and being weird and different and standing out then. And it's maybe even more scary when you think about your livelihood in your business and you say, do I really want to put myself out there and risk it? And the thing that I try to help people understand is, if you've got an amazing brand, if you've got a great product or a great service, don't let it be a wallflower, right? Like, get out on the dance floor and bust a move and draw some attention to yourself, right? You've got a great brand or a great story. Tell it like it's a great brand or a great story. I think this is what happens with a lot of smaller businesses, is that there's this maybe an unjustified humility of oh, we're not like those big businesses, right? We're just a small hometown. We're just going to go by word of mouth. We're going to have a great product or great service and just let other people tell their friends about it. That works sometimes, like very few times. Now we're in an attention economy, right? So you have to get and earn people's attention to stay in business. And that doesn't happen by word of, people are hardly talking to each other anymore, right? It's not you're sitting out on your front porch and telling your neighbors about the business, right? People are they're glued in on their phone. That's what they're doing, most of the day when they're not working. And so you've got to find a way to catch their attention and keep it. And you don't do that by playing it safe.
Okay. Definitely. I was actually, before the show, I was upstairs with my daughter, and she was at the table on her tablet, and she was just going through stuff like every 2 seconds, like switching from something to something, and every so often something would catch her eye, and that's how people are. You don't have much time for people to focus on you and to make a decision. So so you're absolutely right there. And one thing a couple of things I always try and talk to people about is, like when you're naming your company, you want it to sort of help people know what you do, because if you have to tell them your name and get them to remember your name and get them to know what you do and then associate them, that's that you're asking a lot in 2 seconds, or just the tagline, but something that makes it easy to identify you and what you do.
Taglines are that's my playground. I love taglines. You can do a lot that catches people's attention with a tagline. And let's say you're locked in, right? You don't have the resources necessarily to rebrand, but you're looking at your business name and saying, well, I'm kind of stuck with this for right now, at least. Your tagline is something that you can change a lot easier and a lot faster than your whole brand. And so taking your tagline and making it something that stands out is a lot easier than creating a whole new name itself. And so I encourage people to jump on that. And here's the fascinating thing is you don't even necessarily have to be a marketing whiz or genius. Like if you're a small business owner, you don't have the money to go to an agency and have them create a tagline for you. You've got tools at your disposal now between ChatGPT and Claude, not necessarily to write it for you, but it can help kickstart those. If you're not a super creative person, it can help kickstart those creative juices so that you can say, oh, wow, you know what? I could do that. And you just tell it what you want to do, that you want to stand out. You're wanting to be distinct. You either want it to be funny or bold or maybe connect on a sentimental level, and it will generate some okay things. Again, I'm not going to say it's going to generate the end product because I don't think it's there yet. I don't think 9 times out of 10 is not going to generate something that couldn't be better with some human creativity and some human input. But it will get you 60% of the way.
Yep. And I guess if you have friends who are funny, you could probably go talk to them and get input from other people as well, because it's interesting where good ideas come from.
Well, and there's some keys that people can use that are pretty simple that we all can do, right? Make it rhyme, use alliteration. Those two tools right there help people remember and trust it better. So there have been studies done with behavioral psychology. When things rhyme, people find them more credible. It's fascinating, right? But you can take the same, you can take two things. They can essentially say the same thing, but if one of them rhymes, people believe it more. People believe it easier. So using something that rhymes or that uses alliteration in your tagline is it's an easy kind of behavioral psychology tool that you can use to stand out.
Okay, excellent. So that means that my show name's pretty good. Leadership Live at 8:05. And
You're using you got both in there. Yeah.
So yeah, but people really like the name too. They're like,
and it's easier to remember, right? Like if it rhymes, yeah.
So yeah, no, definitely, that's an example of sort of how it goes. So, I think that, when you're talking to people as a business owner and entrepreneur, you also have to be careful who you're listening to. And understand sort of where they're coming from in their perspective, because a lot of people who are still employed are very conservative. So if you talk to them about something, they're gonna be But if you talk to entrepreneurs and other business owners, they sometimes have a better feel for it. One thing I wrote in my book, a way to help business owners better understand what marketing is and how to do it effectively. Call it 3 reasons to market like a drug dealer. And, people love that when I'm talking, and it's but I talked to my mom, she's like, why would you ever put that? Or my brother who's still in corporate, he's like, you can't call it that. So it's,
but it stands out. It stands out.
Yeah, it stands out. And, there's a lot of different ways to stand out. Some people have titles that stand out. So what do you do with your business? How do you make your business stand out?
So I'll tell you kind of where we came from and how we got to where we are. So when I first started, and I'll tell people this is not the way you need to name your business. I really wanted a .com, right? I wanted my business name .com. And I figured I needed that. That was a have to. Again, not the smartest or best way to name a business. You can get creative with your .coms or your website URL. So I went through probably 20 or 30 business names that probably would have been much better than Epic 9. But the .com wasn't available. So I tossed them, right? And so I was kind of in that boat down, a few years down the road where I'm like, well, what do I do with this name that I'm kind of stuck with now? And so started thinking through and developed, we did 2 things. One, we had an old logo. It was a really ornate dragon. And the dragon stood for the stories, right? We wanted to tell epic stories. And what we meant was, we wanted to help a business or a brand tell their story in an epic way. And dragons kind of represented epic stories, Lord of the Rings, that sort of thing. And so the dragon went from a very ornate dragon to a more of a cartoon dragon. And I even had my car was wrapped with this dragon graphic. It was really cool. It stood out. Everybody knew it around town. But then we probably about 4 years ago, our whole team kind of got together and said, does the dragon really make sense anymore? And I mean, we'd been using the dragon in some form or fashion for several years, and we made the hard decision to kill the dragon. And I was sad about it, but at the same time, it was liberating, because I was like, okay, if we're going to kill the dragon, then what are we now? How do we represent ourselves? What do we call ourselves? How do we do this? And so one of the things that we had kind of made ourselves analogous to when we were talking with clients and stuff was a guide, right? We were kind of an outfitter of sorts. We helped people get to their goals by giving them the best routes and the right tools. And so we thought, why don't we just kind of embody that? Why don't we just make that our whole brand? And so And so we changed our name to Epic 9 Marketing Outfitters. And so we help our clients conquer their marketing mountains. And that's what we use with all of our branding, right? Mountains are kind of in everything. We went to a trade show about a year ago, and we had this booth that everybody loved. It was essentially one of those 10 by 10 tents, but we had wired it up with just a ton of leaves, fake leaves that we got off Amazon or something, and it looked like you were walking into a forest. One of our team members made these like cardboard tube tree trunks for the legs, and so that's kind of been the whole theme of what we've done. And we've also took the name, the Epic 9 part of our name, and developed what we call the nine elements of epic marketing. It's kind of arbitrary, right? There could have been 10, there could have been 8, but we were able to take all the things that we typically talk about and instruct people with, and we're able to kind of categorize them and put them into these 9 buckets. And so we use that a lot now. But I would say the thing that really helped us stand out and look and brand ourselves a little bit different was going full force into this Marketing Outfitters theme. And the great part is when you find a good message or a good visual identity, it makes all your other marketing easier because you don't have to make as many decisions, right? If you don't have a good brand guide and something that's kind of paving the way for you with your design and with your messaging, then every marketing decision you're having to rethink, like, oh, how do we say this, or what should this look like, or how do we present ourselves in this situation? But if you have a really cohesive brand, then a lot of those questions are answered for you. Well, you know what? We're going to use orange because that's our color, or we're going to talk about this in terms of mountaineering and climbing because that's our brand. It makes those decisions a lot easier. And so I would just encourage anybody, even if you don't have a logo or a name that you're like super in love with right now, figure out what can you do to make it work for now, right? Whether it's changing the tagline, maybe revising the logo or the colors. And then once you've done that, build out a guide that can help you make all those other marketing decisions in the future, and it will make your life a lot easier.
Okay, excellent. And also, that improved consistency helps people remember you, and you don't need as many touches for people to remember you. So
if your messaging and your visual identity is different every time people see you, it disorients them, right? They can't build those memory structures.
So definitely. So I'm going to take a quick break. We have a webinar coming up tomorrow that can be very valuable for different business owners. What I found is most business owners don't have a business plan, have a current business plan, have a completed business plan. And many times because it seems overwhelming or like too much work, but it doesn't have to be. So actually tomorrow afternoon, we have our business plan workshop, and here's a little bit of information about it. Most business owners don't have a complete actionable business plan that is current, although everyone knows that failing to plan is planning to fail. That's why more than 50% of businesses fail within the first 5 years, and many of those remaining are not growing and the business owner's not making enough money. Many business owners find business planning to be overwhelming because they don't know what to do or how to do it. However, that doesn't need to be the case. Learn to simplify your business planning with our February 5th Masterpreneur class. Join our Business Plans Made Easy Masterpreneur class to learn how to navigate the market analysis and marketing planning process, create an operational strategy for success, and simplify the financial planning process. With the right guidance and tools, crafting your business plan can be straightforward and empowering. Learn how to at our Business Plan Made Easy Masterpreneur class on Monday, February 5th at 2 p.m. Eastern. Click the link below and register today. Okay, I'm back here with Jeremy talking small business. You just heard about the class. It's in the chat, as well as a lot of great comments from everybody. Appreciate your comments. You've got Jeremy's LinkedIn profile as well as his website. We do have a little bit more time left, so I want to ask a couple more questions.
Yeah.
But we've been talking about how you stand out and taking the marketing risk. Sometimes you can take too much risk. Like, when should you be worried that you're taking too much risk, and when should you be like, maybe I should stop here?
So you were talking about something earlier of talking about, if you were to talk to your you had that class title, and you took it to your mom and you took it to your brother, and they both gave you feedback. I would say the people to talk to and the people to take their feedback to heart are your customers, right? Not everybody is necessarily going to be your customer. So find people who you can get honest feedback from that are your customers. And that's a good way to measure the riskiness, right? I would say this: if you throw out an idea to folks, and it has that initial like chuckle, or they nod their head, or there's some sort of visual, you can tell it made a connection. That's a good sign. If they kind of cringe, that's also a sign. That may be a bad sign. But what I encourage people to do is, whenever you're presenting something to someone, whether it's a new logo or a tagline or an ad concept, whatever you do, don't ask them what they think, because they will tell you, they will create something to tell you out of that. They don't want to sound dumb, or they don't want to sound like they don't have a thought about your particular creative idea, right? So they're going to conjure up some idea, something that makes sense, right? And they're going to give you all these reasons that don't actually affect the way they typically make a marketing decision, right? So when you're going down the road and you're hungry and you're thinking, where can I stop and eat? You don't look at the Wendy's logo and say, well, I think they should have made Wendy have a little more freckles, or maybe instead of doing the W in that font, they should have done it in another. That's not what you think, right? You don't think like that when you're making buying decisions. And so you're getting useless advice when you show something to someone like that and say, what do you think? If you're going to ask somebody anything, I encourage you to say, how do you feel about this? How do you feel? That kind of gives them an excuse to not have to make some sort of rational opinion on it. They can say, oh, I like it, or I don't like it. They don't have to create the why. They don't have to say why I like it or why I don't like it. So those sort of questions can help give you a better idea of whether it's a good or bad idea. But I would say this: if you feel like you did something and it's like, oh, maybe I risked a little too much, or maybe it's not going in the right direction, always have something to measure it by. Right. So if you are making a creative decision, it needs to be connected to a goal. And if that creative decision is not getting you closer to your goal, then figure out something else to do. But you can't judge whether it's getting you closer to your goal if you either don't have a goal or if you're not measuring. And you'd be surprised at how many businesses fail to do one or both of those things.
Excellent. I like that you had mentioned that you should talk to your customers or your target market. Because, I think a lot of times we think that we can interpret the things the way our target market is, but generally you're not your target market. So what you're thinking isn't what they're thinking. I learned that I was working on a new logo, and I changed my business to Small Business Like a Pro. And I was like, I should have like the Heisman Trophy, with the guy running, and he's like the top, But I shared it with a couple of my people I work with, and there was it didn't resonate with people. One was a woman. She was like, that doesn't resonate, and I work with more women than men, so that wouldn't have been a good idea. And so
yeah, you are not your customer most of the time, right?
Right.
So and the customer's always right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think one of the I just thought of this example. I think it was the movie Big.
Okay.
Was it the movie Big when Tom Hanks was like a toy exec, or it might have been another movie? Yeah,
No,
was that? And he comes in, he's like, kids don't want to play with this. This is garbage, And he kind of makes them rethink the way that they were doing things. Yeah.
It was like, what? This is just a building. What fun is a building?
Yes.
So yeah, that was a good movie. And you can get a lot from just looking around. I think once you have a perspective, you can look at everything when you're thinking about it in terms of differentiation or distinction, and it can give you some ideas too. So no, this is great. One disappointing thing about the show is it always goes too fast. We could probably cover like a whole bunch more hours, really digging into this topic more. But I think we did touch upon some things that could be very valuable for people, and appreciate everybody's comments and that you're following with us tonight. What I like to do before the show ends is really have the guests share 3 key things that you should take away from the show. That we covered a lot of stuff. Many times people can't remember more than 3 things, and just puts clarity around making this actionable as opposed to just something people listen to. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a minute and just sort of share a little bit about, one of the things coming up is our next Power Breakfast. It's going to be on March 21st in Kenilworth, New Jersey at the Galloping Hills Golf Course. So we do 3 events a year, and if you're around in the area, you don't want to miss it. And here's a short video about what the Power Breakfast is all about. If you are looking to increase revenues, improve profitability, and or obtain financing for your business, you need to check out the Power Breakfast and Small Business Pro conferences.
My name is Andrew Frazier. One of the things we're here to do is supercharge your day.
Today's Power Breakfast has really been a phenomenal experience. I think it's exactly what business owners need, some true guidance of people who are genuine and really are leading them in the true direction of business growth and expansion.
The Power Breakfast is so important for the entrepreneurial community because it gives the various business people who come together an opportunity to interact and also do some business.
These events, hosted by Andrew Frazier, President and COO of Small Business Like a Pro, will supercharge your day.
Hi, Andrew here, talking small business with Jeremy LaDuke tonight. Our topic has been the biggest marketing risk is not taking enough risk. So we covered a lot of great things. And Jeremy, if you could share 3 key things that you think people should take away from our discussion tonight.
All right. Yeah, I tried to think through what these would be. I think one, the first thing we talked about, playing it safe, risks being forgettable. And because if your marketing efforts and your tactics are forgettable, then you're just wasting money. So you're losing opportunity, and you're throwing money into the wind. So playing it safe risks being forgettable. The second thing I would say is listen to how people feel more than what people think. That's what drives their buying decisions, is their emotional decisions that they justify with reasons, right? One of the examples I thought of that we didn't get a chance to talk about earlier was Apple or Android. I have several reasons why I should love Android phones. I had an Android phone for a year or two. I had an emotional reason why I went back to Apple, and it was not rational. It was emotional. It was how it made me feel, right? And if we look at how people make that decision for themselves, we have good reasons to be in one camp or the other. It's not about differentiation. It's about distinction and how we emotionally connected with that brand. So listen to how people feel more than what they think. And the third thing is, don't name your business based on the .com you can get. And I think that summarizes a couple of ways you shouldn't name your business. Name your business in a way that is going to help you stand out and be distinct. Don't name your business because it's functional, right? Name your business because it helps you stand out.
All right, great. So playing it safe makes you more likely to be forgettable. And, if you're forgotten, then, that doesn't really help your business too much. Feeling versus thinking, people are emotional beings. So, definitely you want something that resonates with them. And don't name your business based on the .com. But I would say also, don't not look at the .com and find out later that there's 1,000 people with that name. And
That's a very good point. Yes, yeah.
You do want to show up somewhere, and there's some names and some words that you just can't differentiate away from. So, but this has been great, Jeremy. Thanks for coming on. I think definitely a good conversation and covered some good things.
I love the opportunity to be on here. I appreciate it.
Okay, great. And, definitely, we got a great audience. So thank everybody for tuning in. Definitely, if you want to reach out to Jeremy or know more about him, here's his website here, and it's in the chat. As well, you can reach out to him on LinkedIn, and he seems like a pretty friendly guy, so I'm sure he will accept.
I always welcome the LinkedIn connections. Reach out, and I'll accept it. Also, want to throw out another website, The Climb Club, theclimbclub.com, and that's our online small business marketing community. And so we have a month free trial. We've got a mastermind coming up tomorrow that you could be a part of. Would love to have folks come try it out and get the resources and the encouragement that they need to conquer their marketing mountains. Okay. So it's theclimbclub.com.
Yeah. Okay. All right, cool. So I'll put that in the chat as well. So thanks again, Jeremy. If you can hang out for a minute while I close out. And we'll go from there. So everybody, thanks again for tuning in. Each week, as we have great guests and a topic of interest. So next week our show is, let's see who we've got. We've got hiring and managing a sales team. So it's always a challenge for a lot of business owners, especially as you're growing. So Liz Hellman actually helps business owners and entrepreneurs hire a sales team. And, that's one of the most challenging things. And most times doing that, many businesses are not successful. So, learning about, how to do that in the right way, but also learning, are you ready? What do you need to have ready? And, how should you go about doing it? So definitely invite you to tune in next week and join us next Tuesday for that. So, at the end of the day, the more that you know, the faster and more successfully your business is going to grow. Take care, and I look forward to seeing you next week.
Thank you for listening to Leadership Live at 8:05, Talking Small Business. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and to the podcast on your favorite podcast platform. Leadership Live is one of the many valuable resources provided through the Small Business Pro University, empowering business owners to learn, profit, and grow. Find out more at sbpru.com.
Okay.